Hello, so I'll be streaming now, but it's going to be a fairly short one because I've been just really tired and sort of a bit ill today because of, I think, probably ulcerative colitis, but I'm not too sure. But basically, where obviously I didn't get a very good sleep last night because of it, and then today I've just been quite fatigued and sort of in pain. So not going to be like I said, streaming for all that long today, and I'm not going to be doing one of those streams where I keep getting up and getting stuff because I've just not got the energy. But I'll chat with people for a bit. But as I said, it's just hopefully tomorrow I'll feel quite a bit better. But today's just one of those days where it's been a bit shitty. So there we go. Oh, that's shitty. Ulcerative colitis, good pun. But if you mean quiet as in the microphone, the mic, right? Let's see if I can fix that. It will be Windows 10 being shit, but Windows 10 as usual. So what it's done is it's decided to randomly just put the microphone down. Device properties, volume. Let me put this up to 100. Right, that's now put up to 100. But I don't know if that's going to be much louder. But it's Windows 10 being Windows 10, unfortunately. Right, that's fixed, has it? So yeah, it's basically Windows 10 being shit because it did another update. The other day I had one of the Windows 10 updates that actually broke the PC. Well, not broke the PC, but you know what I mean. I had to go back to a restore point because the update just fucked up when they obviously did it, and then it took a couple of hours to sort that out. And now it's I think done the same update, but it's not failed to install at this time. That sounds interesting, Jesus. Is that like tanks and troops, everything? There isn't really one. I know the UK is probably going to be having another lockdown with Corona soon because if you've been watching the news here, I think we're getting our second wave now properly in terms of, like they're running out of test kits or they can't do all the tests. So there's really high areas and they can't test properly. So yeah, they're shutting schools, are they, and stuff like that. I've heard there's been some problems in certain schools with like people having it, but no, like proper things of. All right, thanks. Soviet gas mask collector. I was all right as I can be. It's just ulcerative colitis is a real pain when it's you have a bit of a flare up, and I think last night I had one. But yeah, I realised as well, just as I started streaming, I left my glasses in the other room, so I might have to be squinting a little bit to The stupid thing is, Tyrick, that some schools are literally telling kids not to wear masks, or if they wear a mask, they have to be a certain type of mask. I'm not going to buy every single Zippo lighter ever made because I don't know if you know this. They did loads and loads and loads of like limited design case type things. I've not used the map much on it yet, Ivan. I'll have to do that, but so far it's not really left the house, the atom tag. But I'll have a look on the map. It's probably a similar thing as it to the map the GMC does, where you can actually see the levels that have been reported or recorded in different areas. Yeah, GERD's pretty horrible, isn't it? I've had like bad acid reflux before, but not like proper GERD. I've already been asleep for ages. But as said, I've got a chronic illness, so there's nothing I can do about that. Don't be a dick about it. But yeah, as said, last night had a flare of the ulcerative colitis, which means you don't sleep properly, you're in constant pain. Yeah, that's pretty cool, Ivan. No, gas masks won't block carbon monoxide. You can get filters that partially do it, but basically the idea is that they filter, lots of gases in the air. Carbon monoxide kind of replaces air, which is a bit the problem. Why does Radiac Maniac keep spamming hey? A rebreather would work, yes, because a rebreather is recycling your air using basically sort of a chemical sort of conversion thing. So you'd need either a rebreather or an air tank, essentially. I already have done. I assume you've not watched many videos, Isa, or Aisha, how your name's pronounced. But yes, if you've watched my channel long enough, you know I have reviewed my favourite gas masks. There probably is chromium in FP5 filters, but most filters had chromium in up until like a few years ago. I've got a carbon monoxide detector in our house that sits near the boiler. I don't actually know exactly how they work. It's just something that has batteries in it, but I'm assuming there's some sort of almost like just chemical detector that can pick it up. Oh, the collar's funny, is it? Oh, well. Not the end of the world, is it? Yeah, they are useful carbon monoxide detectors, aren't they? Because, like I said, it's one of those things where you probably wouldn't know if you're being poisoned by it, and obviously it can be fatal. Yeah, that sounds like a Darwin Award if 200 people crammed into a bunker and put a generator in the bunker. That's why most old bunkers had the generator on the surface with the power cables going down into the bunker. All the ones that did have actual generators inside the bunker, like the big government ones, always had them in a room basically where air could be extracted. That's cool. You got one of the old baby masks. What was it? Not was it a World War II one? All the old like Soviet bloc baby ones. Speaking of RBMKs, I'm watching this again. But, yeah, I don't think it would work well if every single house, other than the space requirement, had an RBMK rather than like on the mains. Yeah, I think you're completely right. They're off target. They've completely fucked it up, haven't they? And at the moment, there's that stupid thing. First, they were saying, "Oh, people are misusing the test if they go get a test and they don't have symptoms," even though that's how you basically combat it until we have a vaccine. Is that you have to regularly test people to find out who's got it, so you can isolate people and sort of clear people better. But then they were going, "Oh no, you shouldn't get a test if you're asymptomatic because you're just wasting tests." And then they're now not even doing tests for people in hotspot areas who definitely have it. Um, I think normally Marcus they had them in like little outbuilding type things. But yeah, carbon monoxide poisoning. It's not obviously nice, but I know it was for ages, wasn't it? It was like a suicide method. A lot of people use with their cars in the garage because essentially, I think you just feel sleepy, don't you? And then that's it. Um, yeah, that's a good point, Daryl. Yeah, that's not just with 3M masks. Actually, that's with a lot of masks. If you've got a slightly bent valve or whatever, you can have issue. Yeah, as Ivan saying, like I said, when I've been to the big UK government bunker, Calvert and Hatch, they had like a proper generator room and like air power room in there, like air vent room. So how that was set up was that you had, one big room for all the generators and that, which was near one of the secondary exits to the bunker actually. And I think that room was probably set up so carbon monoxide would vent out quite well if it built up. But yeah, you certainly wouldn't want in a smaller bunker a generator unless you had the ventilation sorted out properly. Yeah, yeah, radon obviously builds up from anything Obviously anything with radium builds radon up, which is one of the things I have to be quite careful about. It's why I keep nearly all my a lot of my radioactive samples, inside sealed airtight containers inside the safe, and then I vent them outside most of the time if I open them, because if I took a radon detector to some of my samples, they actually make the radon detector go quite high. Yeah, Calvin Hatch is very interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Ivan, most of the bunkers were small in terms of ROC posts, but the government, because they didn't care about the regular people, the government did build big bunkers for themselves. Some of them are still classified. Yeah, there was a thing at Truck Campbell a while ago in the UK where some people died because they put a generator in a flooded room. Like, obviously the generator wasn't in the water, but they were using it for like some sort of pump to get the water out after floods. And they all died because they obviously carbon monoxide built up in the basement or whatever that was, I'm sure if you had real power armor, it would be filtered, I'd imagine. I'll get rid of the person that keeps asking really weird questions or just saying, why don't you do a video on this, and I haven't checked. But yeah, power armor I think would be pretty good against Corona if you actually really had some, because I'm pretty sure the all the Fallout power armor's got filters built in it, isn't it? Yeah, I know though. The Russians have very big shelters, don't they? Because they built the communal ones there. There's a bunker. I reckon there's a bunker quite close to me. So one day this week, I'm going to hopefully go out there and see if I can get some good pictures of it. It's one of those ones where obviously it's not officially labelled up as a bunker, but near me there's some woodland, and you can actually see it from Google Earth. There's like a big square patch of woodland that's just got nothing there, and when you go there's like a big razor wire fence around it. But there's like a big mound of earth with doors and vents coming out of it, so I reckon that's a bunker. It could be something really actually mundane's in there, but it just seems weird to me in a big patch of woods you'd randomly have a big, site of cleared land with, like a mound of earth with doors, like concrete doors going into it and all that. That's interesting, Marcus. Thank you. Yeah, sadly, Axton, I think what ended up happening was the whole civil defense program was eventually abandoned, a bit like they did in the UK. So, the Americans did build more community fallout shelters than Britain ever did. But yeah, I think it was the same sort of sad thing of they thought, people were essentially worthless and didn't build or maintain the bunkers for very long. I think the IMD5 Radiac Maniac should have a bit of strontium-90 in it, like the last series of DP5 did, where you have the twisting sort of beta shield and all that. And I think one of the positions of it has strontium-90 in it, same as they did with the last model of DP5, rather than it being in like a bag. So it should hopefully still be in mine. Yeah, I'm planning on buying an ROC bunker Soviet gas mask collector just because it's way, way cheaper than a house or a flat. But yeah, the thing is with ROC bunkers, though, they weren't like for community stuff, were they? They were basically for the Royal Observer Corps to be in to actually just monitor bomb blasts and like essentially the power and triangulation of bombs and for fallout warnings. Yeah, they do turn up. It's one of those things where I think you have to have the money ready for one. So when it turns up, you can just snap it up. Because with ROC posts, when I've looked for them for sale, the ones that are offered in good condition for a reasonable price, they're the ones that get snapped up really quickly. You can sometimes find ROC posts that have been on sale for years because the seller wants, a stupid amount of money for them. But 20 to 30,000 is normally what they go for. It's just you have to kind of have the money ready when one goes up for sale. Which fort's that in Weymouth? I've definitely been to Weymouth. There's some, Marcus, in terms of ROC posts are all mapped out, I believe, although sadly a lot of those have been decommissioned now, or they're just on private land, and nothing's done with them. And I mean decommissioned, I mean somebody's poured concrete in it because they wanted to build over it, kind of thing. The carbon 14, they're still in the safe somewhere. I'll have to have another look when I go for a load of the samples. It's just probably quite buried in one of the, like sample boxes. Cheers, Justin Weber. But yeah, they've done an awful job, haven't they? Again, it's like, I look at the actions governments do rather than what they say, because of how many governments were saying stuff like, all masks don't work just simply because they haven't bought any for emergency service workers, Right, train spotter? I think I do know the one you mean now, Mackenzie. Is that the bit in Weymouth where if you, where Portland Bill is in Chesil Beach? Is it the one you can see from there? Let me, I'm going to actually Google this and check, but Weymouth North Fort, but I reckon I might have seen that when I went walking with my dad. Unless, that's actually a different one than I was thinking of, or is it? I've seen that years ago. I was just thinking of like a smaller fort when you said that, but yeah, that's quite an actual good, impressive one. Next time I'm at Weymouth, I'll definitely have to go actually up to that because it looks like it's a museum type thing, is it? But yeah, I've historically have been there. Yeah, that looks quite interesting. But yeah, I think I've been there when I was a lot younger, but yeah, I heard that, Mr. Misha. Had an interview with that Bob bloke, didn't he? That Nixon was always going like, Bob, in those conversations. But yeah, Trump was basically saying, was he like, I don't want, I was going to do the wrong voice of Trump then. I don't want to panic people. He told me it's a very deadly virus, more deadly than the flu, but I don't want to panic people. That's cool, Radioactive Cow. Corfe Castle's good, isn't it? Corfe Castle, the one that's like mostly ruined, isn't it? If I remember right, Corfe Castle. Yeah, because it's the one the parliamentarians, or whatever, blew up, didn't they? But Corfe Castle is interesting to visit. There's some videos on my channel, Corfe Castle, I think, when I went there years ago. But yeah, it's when the parliamentarians blew up, because that's sadly what happened to a lot of the UK castles, wasn't it? That during the Civil War, a lot of them got blown up by either side, so the other side couldn't use them. All right, Ivan, have a good evening. I'll probably be to bed quite early again tonight, just because I said really fatigued from the ulcerative colitis. Yeah, sadly I've not been to Sweden. I'd love to go, but I've been to Norway and Finland. I've just not been to Sweden. But I'd like to go to Sweden. When you say, I'm going to show your comment because it's hidden it. Yeah, you meant to say dock. Yeah, the dick yard. Sounds like something very different, doesn't it? The historical dick yard. That's very different. But is it the one in Portsmouth, the really good dockyard where they've got, is it Victory? I've been there as a kid a couple of times. Because I fucking love, old boats and that. It's just a shame there's not more, like kind of dry docked boats where you can just go and walk around them. Yeah, it is the Portsmouth one then. Because yeah, I can definitely remember that quite clearly as a kid. I can't remember anything else about the holidays where we went there, but I can always remember dockyard there. Because they've got like museums built into the buildings around it, haven't they? About like press ganging and all the stuff like that. Yeah, that is literally all I can remember from some of the holidays when I was down there. Was just literally visiting, the dockyard. Nearly always eBay hunter. Now and again in surplus stores or like junk stores. But nearly always just eBay. Yeah, I sadly haven't been to the Mary Rose exhibit. But yeah, I like all the stuff like that because it's like living history, isn't it? When you actually can walk around, stuff like that. All right, Richard. if I didn't say hello if you came on earlier. But yeah, that's the thing I like with, you know, all the gas masks and everything else. Is I think if you can handle bits of history, you get a much better appreciation for them, you know, and learn a lot more about them than, you know, like hands-on history, rather than it just simply being, here is a picture online of like a boat or whatever. Too much off target surviving prepping. The good thing is now and again I do sell stuff if I need to, you know, and you can generally with masks get quite a bit back for them. Because when all the corona stuff started, I had loads of people asking me could they buy certain masks, and you know it was tempting because a lot of them were offering me good money for it, but I felt like a dick, you know, in terms of, you know, saying, all right, yeah, give me a couple of £100 because you're desperate for masks. So I gave out a few of my masks for free for like family and friends and stuff. And I've also before, you know, like sent some of my patrons free stuff where you know, people have supported the channel for a long time. If there's a mask I've got they particularly want, I'm like, yeah, I'll clear up some space, you can have it. Just, you know, pay me the postage. I call it F4 Phantoms are really cool planes, aren't they, Double A? Speaking of stuff like that we were on about before, but the RAF museums are very good in the UK for people who haven't visited them. The Hendon one is really good. But, you know, it's just really nice being able to go around buildings filled with planes, you know, especially the one in Hendon because they've got really old biplanes there. You know, World War I gen biplanes all the way up to modern jets. So it's kind of like, you know, a timeline of history as you go for it as well. The CDV 715, in theory, is meant to pick up beta because the 720 has the smaller bottom bit to pick up beta. But the thing is, it would have to be very strong betas to get in. Like strontium 90 doesn't register on it, even my strongest samples on either of them. Ionization chambers can sometimes be a bit strange at beta, picking up beta, because like even this one, right? Even if you open the bottom of one of these up, so it can detect alpha, some beta sources don't register on this. Like when I try strontium 90 on these, you can't really see the strontium 90, but like carbon 14, whenever I find that sample, does show up on them, even though carbon 14 is a weaker beta. It's quite strange. It might be to do with the energy of certain things, because the thing is radiation, as well as alpha, beta, gamma. There's different like MEV or KEV energy, whatever they call it, like KeV, MEV, which is, you know, how actual powerful it is in a sense. And I know there's certain types of ionizing radiation that detectors won't pick up because they're either too strong or, you know, like too weak. They're not in the kind of bandwidth of the detectors. You know, see, because I know that's part of the problem where sometimes people go like, oh, this isn't that dangerous when they're on about certain types of radiation, because like the Geiger counter's not clicking very fast or whatever, and it's because, yeah, a lot of the energy the Geiger counter is actually over what the Geiger can pick up. No, I don't have a spare GP5, but they're very cheap anyway. You can get GP5 very cheap online. Oh, that's annoying. So you ordered that water bladder up for drinking. It was an awful one. Yeah, I will do at some point, Radioactive Cow. I keep meaning to do it. I'll hopefully get that filmed this week. That's right, Mike. I'd probably fall asleep before then anyway. My ulcerative colitis flared up last night when I was like asleep. So I didn't get very good sleep last night, and I also must have laid funny when I did get to sleep because my neck has been really sore today. So today I've been quite like fatigued because, yeah, it was just a case of, you know, when that flares up, it can be really annoying with like constant pain and, you know, disrupted sleep, and you just feel lacking in energy. Oh yeah, that's very interesting, Dylan. Strange enough, that's barely been on the news today, has it? Despite the fact it's a lot more interesting than all the current, you know, I don't like Trump, you know, I don't like Boris Johnson kind of news stories. But yeah, they found a type of gas, didn't they, coming off of Venus that's normally only caused by, is it like decay or something like that of organic matter, which means there would be life there, or at least there was life there. When did I start getting this gas mask and other things? I started the channel in, I think, 2012, and it was before then, so I'd say maybe 2010 sort of time. But a lot of it came down to, you know, when I got my first job when I was 18 in 2011. That was when obviously I got more into stuff like that because you can actually afford it when you're working. Yeah, that's annoying, isn't it, Mike? Yeah, hopefully your thing clears up as well. With mine, I think it will be all right. I think today's going to be the worst day of it, and I reckon tomorrow, if I get a good sleep tonight, I reckon tomorrow it won't seem as bad. Um, which things was that secret of the straps? I must have missed your first thing. I saw you saying something about straps breaking. Oh, the helmet, is that VZ53? Let's have a look. Or is that an old gas mask? Czechoslovakian Czechoslovakian VZ53 helmet, is it that one? I don't have a UV box. I've got some UV bulbs, but I tend to not like using the UVC one all that much because of just how much ozone it creates. But yeah, there's different ways you can, clean masks. But in general, if I'm using a proper respirator, I generally use like a wet wipe thing to clean the inside. How did you manage to break another CDV? So fun you say about hydrogen peroxide. If it focuses, don't think the webcam wants to focus, but look. We've got a couple of people coming on spamming weird lewd shit, so I'll just hide them. You get that every now and again. There might be more words I have to put on the block list, but there's like kind of because the trolls always kind of don't have much originality. What you'll find is sometimes you'll get them for days when they come on always spamming the same sort of insults. So you can just literally put that word on there and then their comments never get through. Yeah, very strange, isn't it? That's coffee in there. If any of the mods are on, just block them as soon as they come on, just because it's a bit annoying having to try and read that while I'm trying to read real comments. Now and again, Lewis, yeah. The problem is, sadly, I don't get a chance to check my comments as much as normal. I have basically any links, like blocks, unless I approve them. But yeah, I've had that before on some of the things where you have like, essentially a fake account that leaves very generic comments, and I think the idea is that you click on their profile, and obviously they've got a dodgy link on their profile. I've had a few of those. Yeah, please do let me know about the CFF3 filter because, yeah, like I said, I very much doubt it's a GOST filter, even though lots of people say. Yeah, if in terms of functional firearms, obviously I can't show them on stream because of YouTube policy. I've got a Martini Henry carbine and I've got a Schmidt Rubin 1889. Because in the UK we've got a strange rule that means obsolete or antique guns aren't classed as, well, there was a big comment thing about this the other day, but the point is that you can own them without a license. Yeah, BB guns. Like in terms of classic BB guns, I've got Daisy Red Rider. In terms of like air rifles, I've got two. I've got a BSA Hornet and I've got a Crossman Nitro Venom. Yeah, I've got a couple of airsoft guns as well. Like I said, I'd have got a lot more into airsoft if there was just a site closer to me, Because if there was a site closer to me, and if they did, airsoft on more days that were convenient, I'd definitely go and get the UCARA sorted. It's just the nearest site to me is probably a 30-40 mile drive. And as I've said before, the annoying thing is, it's generally they only have like one match on a month, and they're probably not even doing them at the moment due to Corona. And it'd have to be on days I was working, so I'd have to know in advance, to book a Sunday off as holiday or whatever. I've got Umarex mackerels do look cool. I've got a Umarex Beretta PX4 Storm. Oh, that's interesting, Lewis. Thank you for letting me know about that, Airsoft World. If there's a gun on there I particularly like the look of, I might save up and buy one month, because obviously I'm mostly saving for the bunker. But yeah, if they do one where basically you just have to pay some, insurance type thing, I'm very interested in that. Because, yeah, airsoft's the best way, I think, of getting a lot of replicas, aren't they? Because of how our weird laws work. But with the sort of, Violent Crime Reduction Act thing. But yeah, because I was really interested in getting some, like, kind of quite classic guns where the DIAC ones are really, really expensive. All right, thanks, Train Spotting. Ah, right. So that's easy, Lewis. I can get on a load of gas masks and stuff. And then, yeah, maybe dress up as a Soviet in all the NBC gear, and then buy, yeah, like an AK-74 or something. Yeah, there is a break action Webley. Who makes it? I know Hype said it's made in Taiwan, where he comes from, actually. Right. I'm going to do something a bit silly here. Now, I'm going to be very quick because YouTube policy. But yeah, there you go. That's the PX4 Storm. But yeah, because YouTube probably doesn't know the difference between like airsoft and air guns and real guns. That's an Umarex one. Right, Class 2 instructor. But yeah, it's annoying because I'd love to show those on streams, and you used to be able to, like the DIAC guns, because like behind me, you can probably see the top of the RPK that's behind me. But, I used to have like the FOW and the Enfield on that wall, but I just took them down, like the problem Mike has where he has to cover them up, just because even if technically you can show them in a video, and it's very vague how they word it, if you get tempted to take them down and start, messing about with the action, that's where, Yeah, well, the thing is, off target, it's like I don't like the idea of a lockdown, just due to all the kind of liberty things. But as I said, the problem is, it's always annoying, isn't it, with people, the fact that what's the word for it, that people can't be adults and be trusted. If we could all follow the rules, and I know people don't, but you know what I mean, if everybody could just wear the fucking masks when they are out and about, wash their hands properly and all this, it would do nowhere near as much damage to the economy and our freedoms. But unfortunately, people are like, oh, I'm not going to wear a mask. Oh, I'm going to go to my Corona rave party, and all this shit. And then it just ruins it for everyone. Yeah, that's good, Mackenzie. You got it back up. But yeah, this is annoying for YouTube at the moment. That's the main reason I don't do many shooting videos anymore as well, just because they become so anti-gun. Yeah, I take vitamin D per day. I've just got a multivitamin way, because I did take it originally as like its own supplement where it's stronger, but I just take a couple of normal multivitamins now because there's nothing in there that's dangerous in those particular multivitamins if you take a couple of them in a day. Yeah, it's kind of a shame in some ways. I mean, it took up loads of room, but that massive Polish suit I had that I sent back to B Store because I said, although he said I could have had it and, it was worth quite a lot of money. I was like, well, the thing is, it takes up so much room and it's so impractical. As impractical as that was, I think it would be funny to go into Sainsbury's or somewhere in a full-on, inflated hazmat suit. Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? Off-target survival, they end up having to be strict because whenever they ask people to do something, normally they literally go, "Oh, I'm being oppressed. I'm not going to do this." What do you mean by the CDV broke because of the side? Well, weirdly, since I've started taking multivitamins, I've not had any kidney stones, but I did have kidney stones before I had multivitamins. That sounds very strange thing to say. Basically, kidney stones are just a bad luck thing, mostly, aren't they? I know there's certain things in your diet that can make them more likely, but if you're drinking water regularly and keeping yourself hydrated, the chances are they're not going to really build up. Yeah, there's very strange things in the class 2 instructor. People whinge about their freedoms being taken away. It's like the thing. I don't oppose the idea that people should be allowed to smoke indoors if there's a proper smoking section and non-smoking section. You know, but the really annoying thing, with obviously like reason I think they had to bring all the smoking ban stuff in is because all the people just literally will smoke in the face of children and stuff like that. But what does annoy me is, where because people have to go outside to smoke, they then just stand like 1 yard outside the door, essentially. So you're having to walk for a crowd of smokers whenever you go to a pub or whatever. Right, see you, Mackenzie. I've watched a few of Pete Prosperity's videos. I watched basically all the Dr. John Campbell videos, and I know he said vitamin D is very good for combating corona. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, again, with smoking, it's like I used to smoke and I've quit now. I don't even vape anymore, actually. I'm completely for people to have the personal freedoms to smoke. And as I've said before, I find it really stupid that, I like to drink, but I find it really stupid that alcohol is completely legal, considering how bad it can be. But lots of other drugs are completely banned, even though in theory they do less damage to you and other people than alcohol, especially if they were all regulated. But yeah, that's the thing with smoking. Even though I used to smoke myself, I would be very conscious of where I did it. It would either be in my garden, in a proper bit of a pub garden where people used to smoke. Oh, thank you very much, Radio Nuclei. Thank you. But yeah, they're not really bothering me. It's just kind of strange when they get in the mood to come on the video again. Yeah, that's strange, isn't it? That some people find vaping more irritating than smoke. I found it completely opposite. I've actually got a little bit of silver somewhere. I think I've got it locked in the safe. But yeah, I do have a little bit of silver. Um, what I do off target survival is now here's the problem, because obviously you don't want to waste lots of police time and police resources by using the police, but you're probably going to have to, because I know they're wrong about this COVID warden thing. I don't think that's going to work. I was just thinking of a traffic warden from Preds then, actually thinking of the COVID wardens. But yeah, what I think they'd have to do is literally make it so if you don't have your mask, you literally can't get on public transport, and I think they'd have to do stuff like that. Where as much as fines are probably quite a good deterrent if you do get caught doing stuff, I think what they'd actually have to do is just block you from accessing lots of stuff if you're going to refuse to follow the rules. Yeah, exactly. Unless it's like the one in Fred's, the traffic one, the SLR. Yeah, you because that's I wonder who that job appeals to, because it's literally like saying, oh, please abuse me because I'm going to tell people to follow the rules, and these people are most of the people aren't following the rules because they just want to be dicks about it anyway. Well, the problem is that drivers can get abused for enforcing it. This is the issue. This is why I think it in some ways would have to be the police enforcing all of it, because it's like where I work. You have to wear masks in there, but we're basically told don't get too confrontational with a customer if they don't have a mask, because the problem is you don't want them abusing you, hitting somebody else, it's kind of like it's a pain in the ass, but you don't really want to escalate stuff. And like if you're a bus driver, the last thing you want is probably have some guy have a go at you because Oh, I can imagine now, Mike. You're making me think of some sort of gimp that wants to be abused. Like, oh yes, punch me, yeah, spit on me. But yeah, yeah. I mean, you'd have to think of similar things that off target, but I don't think there's an easy solution, unfortunately, like you said, unless there's a more strict lockdown. Didn't you miss? There was a reason I said that. If you missed Tyrick and all the others, what Mike was saying about the COVID wardens, maybe they were people wanting to be abused. But yeah, basically, yeah, I suppose that's a good thing you cut down. But yeah, weirdly, I think it was during lockdown I stopped vaping. I started drinking too much during lockdown, a load of other stuff. But weirdly, vaping was one of the things I gave up. I don't know why. I think it's probably because it wasn't like normal routine of being in work, having a smoke break on work kind of thing. Right, I've got quite a few instruments. The only one I can really play is the piano, and I'm very rusty at that. So. Supposedly secret only if you buy very dodgy, like non-approved e-liquids, like the popcorn lung thing. Proper e-liquids would never do that. It's why there's regulations around stuff like that, because the issue was, I think, earlier on with vaping, there were really dodgy companies just basically selling whatever liquids they wanted to. I suppose good on the old man, but the problem is I'd worry that some dickhead would just kind of beat the old man to death essentially because of it. Cool. Yeah. Hopefully, Jenny, I'll get some more designs put up at some point as well, because I think Bart's meant to be drawing some more designs at some point. Yeah, those Teespring hoodies are actually really comfy. I'm not saying that because it's my merch. I'm just saying that any Teespring hoodie, they're really nice material. I might end up wearing it a bit more soon because obviously the weather's going to start cooling down. But yeah, they're really comfortable. Like actual material on the hoodies. I've used quite a few different vaping things. The ones I stuck with the longest were like the ones you can buy on Amazon now quite easily, where they're like the box unit type thing, and you can adjust the voltage and watts or whatever, for the temperature and all that. Oh, I like violins; they're great instruments. If Tavares, if you have any idea what some of the points of it is, I can try and think for you. Thanks, Mike. It should also appear down below all the Teespring stuff, but I don't think it always does. Mike's got a load of merch as well. So it's a Scott mask. Is it one that takes filters, or is it one that takes airlines? As in, like a firefighter style one. But there's quite a few Scott masks. There's like the Scott M95, the Scott M98. Quite a few industrial Scott masks. Sounds like there's a plane flying there. All right, bots. Oh no, I've got a clicking thing on Cookie Clicker. I'll have to do that while I'm streaming now. I'm actually surprised. I think I've woken up a bit more now. I've been doing the stream because, like I said, the reason I'm tired and obviously I'm fatigued is just because of like chronic illness. But so sometimes when you start streaming, you actually do wake up a bit more, I think, because you're being more engaged and just trying to watch a film or, whatever. Favorite helicopter, definitely the Hind, the Me 24. Must be a cursed GP5 then, Jay. No, I've not played any of the COD games properly after Modern Warfare 3. Are you looking in the background? That's a Soviet PDFD, but it's got a longer hose on it because I've put a different hose on it because that one didn't come with a hose. Also, over there's a VistaVision with a hose. Yeah, for some reason, Marcus, I was saying it's been waking me up a bit, and I think it's because I've got something to concentrate on rather than just, being like, oh, my stomach hurts and I feel really fatigued. Yeah, Ty, I definitely would. It's just spotting stuff for reasonable prices, to be honest, because, like I was saying, that's the reason I don't really want to get DIAC guns anymore unless I find some really cheap DIACs, is just, the point that, you can have something that's fully functional for the same price as, sometimes even cheaper than the same price as a DIACs. But, it'd have to be something that would turn up that's cool. There are lots of cool antique guns that do turn up now and again. It's just, turning up when you've got spare cash for it and whatever else. Random Sword, the really strange thing of that is it was only certain types of DIACs. Weapon Collector looked into it, and it turns out the type of DIACs we have don't need to be registered as far as the law seemed to be written down, because it was like ones DIAC'd after a certain point to comply with EU rules. So if you had ones older than that, it was fine. But it seems strange because you think they could have just made it so when you buy the DIAC online, it registers you then, but I don't know. Oh yeah, you mean the piezoelectric bit? Yeah, that's because it's very high voltage. Radiac Maniac, that's what it does that. What does Challenger Firearms test mean? My colitis hasn't been good recently, Monty, but otherwise I'm alright. Trying to keep in good spirits. The issue isn't really a course type thing. It's basically in the UK, it's just for Section 1, Section 2. I actually have a gun safe, so I could apply for a shotgun license and probably get one. It's just, as we've said before, the main thing I don't like about the gun system in the UK is you're essentially renting it. So if at some point the police decide, for whatever reason you can't have your guns, they can literally just come and take them, and that's all your money down the drain. Yeah, see, that makes sense, Lewis, doesn't it? It seems strange. I guess at one point they weren't doing that, and that's why they wanted them registered. Yeah, exactly. Because that's the problem. There's a couple of drawbacks, and some of them, to me, like I said, if I, to be honest, if I had land I could actually shoot on, where here, obviously in the garden, you can only use air guns and things like that, I would probably get an SGC. But yeah, the issue is just really for me is that at the moment there's more cons to having one than. Yeah, exactly. They can come in and have a look for all your stuff essentially without a warrant. Pistol or full size one off target survival and prepping. In terms of pistol crossbows, the Horizon Redback is really powerful for what it is. There's also ones like the Armex Tron and the Tomcat 2s, not the Tomcat Mark 2s, whatever they're called. They're like pretty much the same style limbs and everything. In terms of full size crossbows, there's probably much better models out now than when I bought a load, but the sort of it's annoying it's annoying that Blades and Bows is closed down. Otherwise, I could just link you to their page. But for the full size crossbows, the really nice ones are sort of whatever the Taiwan company was that did a lot of them, like Man Kung or whatever, and just like more modern ones they did, where they had rails on and everything. Yeah, I've got a load of grip trainers, Richard, but I'm not actually sure where my grip trainers are. That's interesting, Daniel. Yeah, there probably is random sub, but as I said, it's again spotting them when you have the money and wanting to buy them. I didn't put that one on when it rained at that point. But yeah, it would have done. But obviously, I'd used a couple of Geigers and I managed to contaminate one of them with that water. So yeah, the Fallout shelter sign's good. I've got a metal Fallout shelter sign somewhere, but I think it's slid down there and it's gone. You know, I have to pull everything out to get it. But yes, the Russians do make cool masks. So, what would a non-permanently attached nose be, like Michael Jackson's? Yeah, just the oh, got your nose. I'm thinking that bit was it Scary Movie 3, like the bit from Signs where they pull off Michael Jackson's nose. But yeah, I have not heard really before of a non-permanent nose. Do you mean like the oral nasal cup or what? What do you mean, like the Soviet PDF up there? Um, Not really. I know they exist, but I've never seen any for sale. If you mean like the helmet, disc markers that they had in World War II that were radium painted, because I know they're really active, aren't they? Some of those. Because I was wondering if there was any like a bit like the sort of where you can buy these ships, sort of tritium, sort of glow in the dark bits, so people can see where they're walking. I wondered if there was any radium ones of those, because that'd be probably quite a good way of getting a big chunk of radium for taking measurements with. But I've never seen them for sale. Are you looking at that one? That's a clock. It says 9 o'clock. It's a Nixie tube clock. Nixie tubes are really cool. When you say radium glass, do you mean Vaseline glass, as in uranium glass? Because people keep saying radium glass, and I can never find any info on it. So I think people are saying radium glass, and they mean to say uranium glass. I don't think it is off by 1 minute. Just about, but I'm not going to correct a clock like that because it's gone 1 minute out. Ah, yeah, uranium. That's fine. Yeah, it's just because I've had that before where people have said radium glass, and I've kept trying to look it up and couldn't find any info out about it. Yeah, I'll be on a few more minutes if people have got any interesting questions, then I'll head off. But thank you for the people that donated and the people that have been having quite a good chat tonight. As I said, it's made me feel quite a bit better with the UC pain, having an interesting thing about the scary movies. I know a lot of people don't like the scary movies, but I quite like them. Is that one of the blokes who directed or produced them was one of the Zuckers, wasn't it? Who did like the ones that did Naked Gun and Airplane. Right, the person wanted me to advertise them on here, I'll get rid of. No personal offense to you, but we're kind of having a stream here. We don't want to go to your stream right now. I've seen the one where there's a guy that has the massive like kitchen style gloves on with a sealed check sauce, yeah, which is completely unnecessary. It only protects you from inhaling like radioactive dust. Like when there's lots of gamma rays in the air, there's nothing you can do to protect yourself from it other than just walking around with maybe a box of lead in front of you. Thank you, class two instructor. What was missed the last few streams I've done, do you mean? Can you dye it, LWP Master? Because you can probably dye small sections of it if you need to. I think there's 4, isn't there, in total? There's like one Scary Movie one's the like sort of Scream type rip-off one, isn't it? Obviously it references a lot of films. It's mostly like Scream because it's got like the ghost face sort of killer in it. Scary Movie 2 is the one with Tim Curry in, which I really like, where it's kind of taking the piss out a lot of haunted house movies, like The Exorcist. Scary Movie 3 is like Signs mostly, if I remember right. And Scary Movie 4, I think, is War of the Worlds. The bit I find really funny in Scary Movie 3 is the bit where Leslie Nielsen's in it and he's the president. And there's like some sort of disabled people's convention, isn't there? And then he starts beating up the disabled people thinking they're aliens. It's like fucked up. It's quite funny just because, you don't really see that bit coming. I'm not a massive fan of MREs. I wouldn't not eat them if I had them for free, but I don't see the point in buying MREs when it's generally a more expensive way of just buying food. Sadly, some guy, I think it's going to be hitting us pretty soon just due to all the, places having issues at the moment. No, I barely watch TV, Eli. I know with a lot of them, you can actually then watch them on like catch-up type things on the web, can't you? But I don't actually watch much TV other than like sort of docudrama type stuff. But yeah, if you've got like granite type rocks, they can often have quite a bit of uranium-based stuff in them. Yeah, it's definitely not a good thing for me, Lewis, with having ulcerative colitis then. Because yeah, I've got the issue where I either have the two extremes. I don't want to get too graphic of excrement, shall we say, where it's either dangerously explosive and runny, or it's basically not coming out, which also causes a problem. And part of the problem is as well with ulcerative colitis is they try and kind of give you medications to balance it out, but getting the balance right when your illness can constantly change is another horrible thing. Well, there is charcoal. Eat your vegetables, but if what do you mean, like an alternative to charcoal? I assume something very porous, but I don't really know because charcoal is used for a good reason. Yeah, Fernando, I'd definitely like to do that. But yeah, obviously we'll have to wait for all the Corona stuff to end, and I don't think that's going to happen for another year or two. So. Oh, there's somebody who sometimes used to come on here saying that they had problems with radiation in their poo. But I don't think that person's made a load more accounts to come back yet. That was a very strange fella. We'll see if there's a couple more questions and I'll be off because it's been nearly an hour. The thing is, though, the charcoal works differently to the HEPA filter bit, doesn't it? Because, yeah, obviously you can have particle filters, but they're for particles, not gas. All right, cheers, Coco Mint. Glad you found the videos useful. Yeah, I wish I had a job, Richard, where, if I went to the toilet constantly, like I sometimes have to, it wouldn't be a problem. I mean, technically, I've got a disability, so I should be allowed to do that. But unfortunately, most employers, there's a lot of jobs I literally can't do because of ulcerative colitis, because, I can't really have a job where I don't have access to a toilet. Like a kidney stone, but instead it's uranium. That'd be pretty horrible. I don't think Daniel they'd be interested enough in science to really know about the stuff from Venus. What do you mean by WP? Is that like a museum, or am I completely missing something? I don't have the SR2, do I? I've got the Polish one, but again, if I found one for a good price, yes. Oh, Warsaw Pact. Basically, it was normally a lot of the Warsaw Pact ones, obviously, were the 50s onwards. Obviously, the main military one used by the Warsaw Pact, including the Soviets, was the Shum 41, which is basically the Master GP5. It's kind of like the GP5's dad in a sense of masks. The Warsaw Pact, for some reason, loved making M17 clones as well. So there's the M10, M10M, PDE1, the Polish one. That's the M4, isn't it? MP4, MP4B. Find somebody, I guess, corrupt enough to sell one, Emilio, which is often the thing with current in-service military stuff. I'm sure if you look around the right places and you pay somebody enough, you can get anything. Well, stay safe, Lucid, but hopefully it's a safe design, because the thing with RBMKs is I don't think a plant necessarily being old is a problem. It's more if it's not even maintained properly, or it's, you know, just a bad reactor design. Like RBMKs were just particularly not a very good design due to, you know, the safety systems being shit in them, and it's actually being like an overclocked reactor. Right, the best one I've got off target survival in terms of comfort and everything is the Polish one I've got. Not the big hazmat suit that I got rid of, but the I think it's called the Fu one. It's like a camo, you know, it's like a camo fabric one, but it's obviously impermeable fabric. That's pretty comfortable actually. So yeah, I'd say the Polish Fu one's the best suit I've got. But if you just wanted like a rubber one that's really long lasting, the old Warsaw Pact rubber suits were quite good. Well, I don't have the massive Ub one suit, whatever it is, anymore. Is OP1 something else, actually? Let me look up Polish OP1. The problem is I can't remember all the names of these things off the top of my head. You know, sometimes I'm thinking of something completely different. All right, Polish OP1. Let's search it. I've got... So let's see. I've got a suit very similar to that, because I've got the L1 and L2 suits, which are similar to that. But yeah, that's actually quite a good suit. The is it the L1 the one I like, because you can wear it a bit separately from it. So I use the top half of that with fishing waders. Let's have a look at the Comfo hood. If that's some sort of mask with a filter, then the most likely answer is yes. How good are the filters in it? But if the Comfo hood has a good enough filter, it would work. Yes. So they're a bit like pH gas hoods, I assume, but it's actually got like a filter built into it. Oh, yeah, I think that would work fine. Yeah, that's the thing I don't like about the idea of, you know, having to carry around an NBC suit, is, you know, the packing it and unpacking it thing, especially because you never get them in the bag as well as when they're like factory sealed, so that, you know, it's always way bulkier. Yeah, the answer is too many masks, but, you know, the problem I have is like sometimes I think, yeah, I could just sell a load of masks and get a load of money. But then the issue I also have is I think then somebody's going to ask me to do another video on a mask, and I'm not going to have it to do the video on it. Well, my favourite mask is my Avon CT12. But saying that, I've got a couple of masks now I actually prefer to, I'd probably say, especially that Chinese MF11D. I do really like this one that Hype sent me. That blanking plug is just a homemade one I made, so I don't have to use a dual filter. But I've already done several videos on my rarest masks. That's the problem. People say, can you do a video on this? You can have a look first and see that I've already done them. That's a good point, Daniel. It's not that I have too many masks. It's there's not enough room for the masks. Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing, Mike. If I did sell them, it would just let me get a bunker faster. But the thing I'm looking forward to when I eventually have a small space to live in is actually having to be quite strict at, not cluttering it up. I just find them interesting, OK9, really. There's no specific reason. It's not like I had some sort of experience and made, wow, that's really cool. It's just I've always found them, they look cool and stuff, and they were quite easy surplus to get a hold of for a very long time, and like other bits of surplus, you could buy, like masks from most countries at pretty reasonable prices, but you couldn't buy, helmets and everything else at reasonable prices. It's talcum powder normally. It's just like the storage powder they put on them. The Soviets, Emilio, would have used the Shum 41, the PMG1, PMG2, maybe the PMK one during that sort of period. The Shums, MM1 tank crewman mask would have been used. The Soviets had a whole assortment of masks for the military. So basically, just look up any of the Soviet military masks and pick one you like the look of. But yeah, depending on how well funded a particular branch of the army would have meant how updated they were with NBC gear. The MP4 mostly WLP master, but they would also have been using is it the OM14? They're like Shim 41 copy. Because they were producing that until the end of the Cold War. Yeah, Mark IIIs are quite good suits, aren't they, Class of Instructor? I like Mark IIIs and Mark IVs. It's just the problem is they tend to get, the first time you wear them for a while, they tend to get loads of charcoal over your clothes. Favorite American mask? I'm sure there's some really good classic ones I can't think of at the top of my head, but I really like the M9 and the sort of M40. The rarest gas mask in the world is either going to be like one of the single prototype masks made from a whole host of masks where companies sometimes but if you watch Forgotten Weapons, he shows some of the really rare guns on there where they were like they made a few for kind of showing off and then never did a batch run of them. There's a lot of masks like that, and there's also things like the American Mickey Mouse mask. But yeah, in general, it's stuff like where the rarest masks are essentially just where there was like literally only one or two of them made because they were kind of almost like an advertisement kind of pitch mask, and then they didn't mass produce them. Not off the top of my head, I'm afraid, off Target Survival. I know that there are like animal masks still made, but there's very few places that sell them because it's a bit more of a niche item. Who are you replying to with that one, Daniel? I don't know if I saw who you were. I know you said eat, but I can't see anybody called eat in the thing. How much is it to buy them here? Due to Corona and everything, they're normally well over £100 now to reliably get an S10 or FM12. You can sometimes see them go for less, but most sellers, know they'll sell them for that now. Yeah, ROC bunkers apparently had a protection factor of 1,000 to 1 in terms of, if there was radiation outside. So if it was 1,000 Rontgen outside, you get 1 Rontgen in the bunker. Although one of the things I definitely have to do with it is put proper air filters into it, because weirdly, ROC Post did not have air filters. They just basically had a vent design that was meant to make it harder for fallout dust to get in it, but in theory, there was nothing actually filtering air coming in. So they had this big concrete sort of tomb down there, but they didn't actually have anything to stop radiation getting in. Canned food can last literally for forever. Is it Steve MRE that eats all the old food? Depends what's in the can, but in theory, if a can's in good condition, food doesn't go off in them. Yeah, I mean, it was a pissing in the wind thing, Daniel, wasn't it? Like all those things. The idea was good on paper, I suppose, when there might be a very early jet or a propeller plane dropping a nuclear bomb. But when it became, thermonuclear ICBMs, all that went out the window. But yeah, I mean, the point of them originally, I think, was quite clever, because it was just that you had these triangulated bunkers so you could report bomb blasts and fallout warnings. But yeah, the scarier and scarier the nukes got, they kind of became pointless, because, if the button gets pressed, we all die kind of thing. There's no point having anybody to report how much fallout you're going to get when, you're already dead. There are actually, interestingly, Mike, though, some masks have these things so through the drinking tube you can have like this really sweet kind of glucosy sort of thing, which I think is basically designed to be like an energy shot type thing that you can take through the drinking tube. A couple of Geiger counters. They're quite restricted, I think, on what you can take in and take out the zone. I know you're basically forbidden from taking anything out, aren't you, officially? It's a Nixie tube clock. What, the Soviet PDFD children's mask? Right, there were quite a few different ones. If you watched my videos on them, you can see which ones, were used by who. But right, so the Czechs had their own Geiger counter. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, and I don't have a Czechoslovakian one. The Soviets, for a very long period, used the DP5, because the DP5 was, like very mass-produced, very good Geiger counter. The Polish used the DP66 and DP75. Behind me, there's examples of vehicle-based radiation detectors that, you'd have in a tank, and that where the probe would be outside the tank. Yeah, I've seen an S8. I'm sure there's a picture of an S8 on my channel somewhere. Yeah, the DP5 is the most common Soviet one, probably, for the Warsaw Pact, because it was... I'll show you a DP5, because I've got one right down here. I'll just unplug the headphones from it. This is the first generation of DP5, the DP5A. I've got a DP5V as well, I think the last gen of them was called. But this was the mass-produced Soviet model. So you've got your multiplier switch there, where it goes from 0.1 all the way up to 1,000. And that uses the top scale. And then you've got the 200 Rontgen per hour sort of one there. And that's the bottom scale. So in very high radiation fields, you see what it says between 0 and 200 Rontgen. Otherwise, use lower scales. And it has a probe like this. That's the beta window. You can twist the metal on it around to, not in theory, let beta through, although some strong beta will still get through. And these were quite clever because they were designed that, the handles and all that on this, you could have kind of a long pole, so you could actually hold the probe away from you. And these are also designed so when the probe isn't in use, you can put it in there, And obviously you can still detect radiation because the probe's still wired up. So let me just do that now. So you just pop that in there like that. You detach the handle from it. If I remember which way that unscrews, there we go. So just fit that in there. And I'll end the stream in a minute, but just for the person to see the DP5. I've not done that the best way in the world because I can't get as much cable in there as I thought I could. But anyway, you then button that up, and what you've essentially got there, look, is your probe stored in there, so you can turn it on and use the Geiger counter, and for gamma radiation, it's still going to pick it up fine with the probe in the thing. And obviously, you'd have straps on here as well, so you just have it hanging like that. So you have it that way around, so you can just look down and see the display. And that's why they also put those in the carry cases with the see-through lids, so you can read it even if you're you know, you've just got it hanging off of you like that. But yeah, so if you wanted to get, for cosplay reasons or whatever, a good old Soviet Geiger counter, DP5 series is the way to go because they used them for a very long bit of the Soviet Union's history. And they just basically kept updating this counter and making it better. The Soviets had a whole hell of a lot of different counters. But for the most part, the DP5 series is like their most mass-produced one because it just worked really well. But yeah, they also had the DP63, which is the one with the notorious screen because it has a back screen painted with radium. So you actually get irradiated using that Geiger counter. And like I said, the Polish had the DP66 and DP75. DP75s I really like as well. That goes up to 500 Rontgen. But the only issue is the Polish ones tend to be a bit more fragile than the Soviet ones. So, you know, if you drop it, it's more likely to break. Yeah, apparently OK9, it was somebody in here said it was actually Russian. That was to preserve battery life. So, you know, an idiot couldn't leave this on switch on and drain the batteries. So the idea is that, yeah, you hold down the button for like a minute and then you take your reading. But yeah, and why they painted the back screen with so much radium paint, so you don't have a bulb in it to lower, you know, to use up batteries. Oh, it glows in the dark. The Soviet DP4 is actually really interesting, but I've never seen one for sale. The DP4 is the same ranges as the DP5. It's built a bit more like a DP63. Let me see if I can get a picture of one up, because it's one you don't ever hear about much, and they actually look quite cool. But I can't even find any pictures of them on the internet at the moment. But yeah, basically the DP4, if I'm remembering the name right, looks like a DP5 kind of thing, just without the probe on it, because I think it has internal GM tubes. But I'm assuming they went to the DP5 design because it was a lot more practical to actually have a what's the word for it? You know, a lot more practical to actually have a probe that you could take sample readings with. Because the actual thing with obviously having internal tubes inside a Geiger, it's much harder to actually measure samples. Because that's like why the DP63 has that weird button you're meant to press to open the hatch in the bottom. And then you're meant to, you know, try and hold it down on the sample while pressing the button and taking a reading. Depends on what generation of them they are. They don't use radium paint on clocks anymore. But yeah, I've got a load of old radium clock bits and that for samples. But anyway, I'll be off now because, as I said, I've been on well over an hour, which surprised me tonight because, as I said, I was quite tired. A big thank you to everyone that donated. Your money will go towards the bunker that I'm saving up for. It's going to, you know, it's still going to be quite a long time before I've got enough money saved up for it. But and then it will be spotting one for sale and restoration. But then I'll have somewhere to live. So that will be quite nice. But yeah, hope everybody has a good evening. Stay safe, especially with all the corona stuff getting worse again. You know, all stay safe and have a good evening.